You tried to transfer me out of your life, and instead you handed me all the leverage.
The email hit my inbox at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, right when I was debugging code that had been driving me insane for 3 hours. Subject line, mandatory relocation, Derek Brandt, effective immediately. I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold in my hand. Mandatory relocation? What the hell was this? The sender was Andrea Pell, HR administrator, my wife's little sister. The same Andrea who'd been working at TechFlow Industries for all of 6 weeks and still couldn't figure out how to use the copy machine without jamming it. I opened the email and my blood pressure spiked. Dear Mr. Brandt, pursuant to company restructuring initiatives, you are hereby reassigned to our Portland, Maine facility effective Monday, March 15th. Your relocation package includes moving expenses up to $15,000, temporary housing allowance, and vehicle transport. Please confirm receipt and acceptance by end of business today. Failure to comply will result in immediate termination. Best regards, Andrea Pell, HR Administrator. You've got to be kidding me, I muttered, loud enough that Jim from the next cubicle looked over. Problem, Derek? Just my sister-in-law playing games. I grabbed my phone and called Clara, straight to voicemail. Of course, she was probably in another one of her endless CFO meetings, crunching numbers and crushing dreams. I tried Andrea's extension. It rang twice before her chirpy voice answered. Hi, Derek. I was wondering when you'd call. What the hell is this email, Andy? She giggled. Actually giggled. Oh, that? It's just a prank. Claire thought it would be funny to mess with you a little. You should see your face right now. My face? How can you see my... I spun around in my chair. Through the glass partition separating the IT department from HR, I could see Andrea at her desk, phone pressed to her ear, grinning like an idiot. Next to her stood Clara, my wife of 8 years, and Edie Morrison, Clara's assistant and personal gossip distributor. All three were staring at me and laughing. Very funny, I said into the phone, but Andrea had already hung up. I stood up, my chair rolling backward into the wall. The rational part of my brain said to let it go, laugh it off, maybe even compliment them on getting me good. But something about the way they were looking at me, like I was some kind of zoo animal performing for their amusement, made my jaw clench. I walked over to HR, my footsteps echoing on the polished concrete floor. The open office concept meant everyone could see everything, and I felt dozens of eyes tracking my movement. Real mature, ladies, I said as I approached their little huddle. Clara turned to face me, her perfectly styled blonde hair catching the fluorescent lights. She was wearing her power suit, the navy blue one that meant she was in full corporate mode. Oh, come on, Derek. It's just a joke. You looked so serious reading your email. We couldn't resist. A joke? I held up my phone, showing the email. This looks pretty official to me. Company letterhead, policy numbers, the whole 9 yards. Edie snorted. It's called attention to detail. Clara helped Andrea format it properly. So you were all in on this? Don't be such a baby, Andrea chimed in. She was the youngest of us at 28, but somehow always acted like she was still in high school. It's not like we actually transferred you. I looked at Clara. This is what you do with your time? Elaborate pranks on your husband? Her smile faltered slightly. Derek, don't make this bigger than it is. It was just for fun. Fun? I nodded slowly. Okay, I get it. Very funny. Haha. But just out of curiosity, how exactly did you access the HR system to send this? Because last I checked, fake company communications were grounds for termination. The three women exchanged glances. Andrea's face went pale. It's not fake, she stammered. I mean, it's not real, but I used the actual system. Clara showed me how to... Andrea! Clara's voice was sharp. Stop talking. But I was already pulling up the company portal on my phone, navigating to the HR section. And there it was, in my official employee file. Transfer request. Approved. Status. Pending employee confirmation. Well, this is interesting, I said, holding up the screen. According to the system, this transfer is real, complete with approval signatures from department heads, HR director, even the CEO. Clara grabbed my phone, her eyes scanning the screen. That's impossible. We didn't actually submit anything, didn't you? I looked at Andrea. What exactly did you do, Andy? I just Clara said to make it look real, so I filled out the actual forms, but I didn't think they would automatically process. Oh, for Christ's sake. Clara handed my phone back. Fine, we'll fix it. Andrea can reverse it or delete it or whatever. Actually, and I said, scrolling through the documentation, I don't think she can. See, once a transfer is officially logged and approved, it requires executive authorization to cancel. And according to this, I have 72 hours to accept or face immediate termination. The color drained from Clara's face. Derek, you're not seriously considering... Considering what? Taking a mandatory transfer that my wife and her sister pranked me into? Why would I consider that? But even as I said it, I was reading the fine print. The relocation package was generous. More generous than I'd expected. Moving expenses, housing allowance, vehicle transport, and something called a spousal separation accommodation fee that I'd never heard of before. Look, Clara said, her voice taking on that condescending tone she used when she thought I was being unreasonable. We'll go to HR director tomorrow morning and explain the situation. It'll be fine. Will it? I looked around the office. Half the company was pretending not to watch our little drama unfold. Because right now, it looks like I'm the guy whose wife had to play elaborate pranks to get rid of him. That's not, isn't it? I pocketed my phone. You know what, Clara? You're right. This is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I started walking toward the elevator. Derek, where are you going? I turned back. Clara was following me, with Andrea and Edie trailing behind like lost puppies. Home, I said, to pack. You're not seriously going to Portland. Why not? My wife clearly thinks I'd be better off there. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. I stepped inside and turned to face them. Derek, don't make this bigger than it is, Clara said. Just go home, cool off, and we'll fix this tomorrow. As the doors started to close, I smiled. Don't worry, sweetheart. I'm not making it bigger than it is. The doors closed on Clara's confused face. I'm making it huge. The flight to Portland left at 6:15 a.m. I booked it from the airport parking garage at 11 p.m. the night before, sitting in my Honda Civic, while Clara blew up my phone with increasingly frantic calls and texts. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I spent the time reading. Specifically reading our prenuptial agreement, all 47 pages of legal jargon that Clara's father had insisted on when we got married. I'd signed it without much thought back then, too in love and too trusting to care about the details. Funny how perspective changes. The prenup was thorough, covering everything from asset division to spousal support to, and this was the interesting part, employment-related separations. Section 12, subsection C, paragraph 3. In the event that one spouse's employment requires relocation of more than 200 miles for a period exceeding 90 days, and said relocation was not mutually agreed upon, the non-relocating spouse shall receive compensation equal to 25% of combined household assets, plus reasonable living expenses, vehicle replacement, and housing costs for the duration of separation. I read it 3 times to make sure I understood correctly. Clara made $180,000 a year as CFO. I made $85,000 as a senior process engineer. Our combined household assets, house, cars, investments, savings, totaled roughly $800,000, most of it tied up in Clara's stock options and the house her parents had helped us buy. 25% of $800,000 was $200,000, plus living expenses, plus vehicle replacement, plus housing costs, all of it coming out of Clara's carefully managed household budget. I called my old college buddy Lou Martinez, who now ran a dive bar called Murphy's on the south side of town. Derek? Jesus, it's almost midnight. What's wrong? Lou, I need a favor. You still know that private investigator? The one who helped you with the insurance fraud thing? Maddie Gold? Yeah, she's good people. Why? I might need some digging done. Discreet digging. What kind of trouble are you in? The profitable kind, hopefully. I booked the flight and drove home. Claire's Mercedes was in the driveway, all the lights on in the house. I could see her silhouette pacing back and forth in the living room window. I parked in the garage and sat there for a moment, listening to the engine tick as it cooled. 8 years of marriage. 8 years of Clara's ambition, her networking events, her careful image management. 8 years of being introduced as Derek, my husband, he works in IT, with that slightly apologetic tone that suggested she was still settling. Well, maybe it was time to stop settling. I went inside through the kitchen door. Clara was waiting for me, still in her power suit, but with her hair disheveled and her makeup smudged. Where have you been? I've been calling you for hours. Airport, I said, setting my keys on the counter. Booked a flight. Derek, this is insane. You can't actually be considering this transfer. Why not? You and your sister went to a lot of trouble to arrange it. It was a prank, was it? I pulled out my phone and showed her the prenup clause I'd photographed. Because according to this, your little prank is going to cost you about 200 grand, plus expenses. Clara's face went white as she read, You can't be serious. Oh, I'm dead serious. See, the beauty of your prank is that it's official. Logged in the system, approved by management, the whole 9 yards, which means it qualifies as a mandatory employment relocation under Section 12 of our prenup. Derek, please. Please what? Please don't take advantage of the legal document you insisted I sign. Please don't hold you accountable for your actions. Clara sank into one of the kitchen chairs. This isn't what we intended, isn't it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you and your sister cooked up a scheme to humiliate me in front of the entire office. Mission accomplished, by the way. The whole company watched your little performance today. We didn't mean for it to actually process, but it did. And now we're both going to live with the consequences. I headed for the stairs. Where are you going? To pack. My flight leaves in 7 hours. Clara followed me upstairs. Derek, we can fix this. I'll talk to Andrea. We'll go to HR. We'll explain. Explain what? That the CFO's sister mistreated her access to company systems for a prank? That sounds like a fireable offense to me. I pulled my suitcase out of the closet and started throwing clothes into it. You're enjoying this, Claire said. You're actually enjoying this. I stopped packing and looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd fallen in love with in college back when she was Clara Morrison from small-town Ohio, before she became Clara Brandt, CFO, social climber, and apparently practical joker. You know what, Clara? I am enjoying it. For the first time in years, I'm actually excited about something. Thanks for that. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her face went even paler. What now? It's Andrea. She's at the office trying to reverse the transfer. She says the system won't let her access it anymore. Something about executive authorization required. Huh, imagine that. Clara stared at me. You did something. I read the fine print. Maybe you should try it sometime. I zipped up my suitcase and headed for the door. Derek, please, don't do this. We can work it out. I paused at the bedroom doorway. You're right, we can work it out. According to the prenup, I'll need access to our joint accounts for living expenses. I'll also need you to arrange for a replacement vehicle since I'll be leaving the Honda here. Something reliable. Oh, and I'll need first month's rent and security deposit for an apartment in Portland. Should be about $5,000 total to get started. $5,000? That's just the beginning, sweetheart. The real expenses kick in after 30 days. I left her standing there and drove back to the airport. At 6:15 a.m., I was on a plane to Portland, Maine, with a window seat and a copy of our prenup in my carry-on bag. At 7:30 a.m., while somewhere over Massachusetts, I got a text from Lou. Maddie Gold says she can meet you tomorrow. Also, you might want to check the company gossip page. Apparently, your sister-in-law had a meltdown in the office last night. I opened the company's internal social media page and found a video posted by someone in security. The timestamp showed 11:47 p.m. The location was the HR department. The video showed Andrea at her desk, frantically typing and clicking, surrounded by scattered papers and empty coffee cups. She was talking to someone off camera, probably Clara, based on the responses. I can't get back in. It says I don't have authorization. Try the override code. I tried. It's not working. Then Andrea stood up and swept everything off her desk in one violent motion. Papers flew everywhere. Her computer monitor teetered and fell, crashing to the floor. This is all your fault, she screamed at the off-camera person. You said it would be funny. You said it was just a joke. The video ended with security arriving and Andrea being escorted out of the building. I watched it twice, then forwarded it to my personal email. By the time I landed in Portland, the video had 43 comments and over 200 views. Clara called as I was picking up my rental car. Derek, you need to come home. Andrea's been suspended pending investigation. They're talking about criminal charges for destruction of company property. Sounds like she should have thought of that before she trashed the HR department. This is your fault. My fault? I'm 300 miles away, Clara. I didn't make your sister lose her mind. You planned this. Somehow you planned all of this. I climbed into the rental, a nice Toyota Camry, much newer than my Honda, and started the engine. You give me way too much credit, sweetheart. I'm just a guy in IT, remember? Derek, I've got to go, Clara. I'm meeting with a property manager in an hour. Nice apartments here in Portland, ocean views. You're going to love the rent receipts. I hung up and drove toward downtown Portland, whistling. For the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Maddie Gold looked exactly like I'd expected a private investigator to look, if I'd expected a private investigator to look like a retired librarian who could probably bench press me. She was maybe 50, with short gray hair and wire-rimmed glasses, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. We met at a coffee shop in Portland's Old Port District, a place called Arabica that served coffee strong enough to wake the dead. "Lou says you need some digging done," she said, stirring sugar into her cup. "What kind of digging?" "The kind that stays between us." "That's the only kind I do. What's the situation?" I told her about the transfer, the prenup clause, and Clara's increasingly frantic attempts to undo what Andrea had done. I also told her about my suspicions. "See, here's the thing," I said. "Clara's smart. Scary smart. She doesn't do anything without thinking it through 3 times. This whole prank thing feels off." "Off how?" "Too elaborate, too risky. Claire's built her entire career on being careful, conservative, managing risk. Pranking her husband at work doesn't fit the pattern." Maddie nodded. "So you think there's more to it?" "I think she wanted me gone. I just don't know why yet." "Could be another man." "Could be. Or it could be something else. Money problems, company issues, family drama. That's what I need you to find out." Maddie quoted me her rates, reasonable, considering what I was about to collect from Clara. And we shook hands. "I'll need a few days," she said. "In the meantime, you might want to keep a low profile. If your wife is as smart as you say, she's probably figuring out that this backfired on her." She was right. That afternoon, Clara called 6 times. I answered the last one. "Derek, we need to talk." "We're talking. In person. I'm driving up to Portland." "Why?" "Because this has gone far enough. You've made your point. Now let's be adults and figure out how to fix this." "There's nothing to fix, Clara. I'm following the terms of our prenup. The prenup you insisted on." "That clause was never meant to be used like this." "Then maybe you should have read it more carefully before you had your sister transfer me to Maine." There was a long pause. "Fine. I'll be there tonight. We can have dinner and discuss this rationally." "I'm not stopping you from coming to Portland, Clara, but I'm not having dinner with you either. I'm exactly where you wanted me, 200 miles away from home." "Derek, I've got to go. My new landlord is here with the lease." That wasn't true, but it sounded good. I hung up and called Lou. "How's the vacation going?" he asked. "It's not a vacation, it's a strategic relocation." "How are things back home?" "Interesting. Your wife's been asking around about you. Specifically, she's been asking if anyone's seen you with other women." "Other women?" "That's what I said. Apparently she's convinced you're having an affair, and this whole transfer thing is cover for you to run off with some mystery woman." I laughed. "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" Think about it from her perspective. Husband suddenly becomes assertive, starts making demands, moves to another state. Classic cheating husband behavior. Except I'm not cheating. I know that, you know that, but Claire doesn't know that. And people see what they want to see. That evening, I was having dinner at a seafood place near the waterfront when Clara walked in. She'd driven 4 hours in her Mercedes, still wearing her work clothes, looking tired and stressed. She spotted me immediately and walked over to my table. "Mind if I sit?" "Free country." She sat down across from me, studying my face. "You look good, Derek, relaxed." "I am relaxed. Turns out I like Portland. We need to end this." "End what?" "This game, this revenge fantasy. Whatever you want to call it." I took a bite of my lobster roll. "I'm not playing games, Clara. I'm living my life. The life you relocated me to." "Fine, you want me to admit it was a mistake?" "It was a mistake. Andrea screwed up. I should have stopped her, and we both owe you an apology." "Okay. Okay. I accept your apology." Claire looked confused. "So you'll come home?" "Why would I do that?" "Because the prank is over. We've apologized. We can fix this." "Clara, the prank ended the moment the transfer hit the company system. Everything since then has been consequences. And according to our prenup, I'm entitled to stay here and collect those consequences for as long as I want." "You can't be serious about this." "I'm dead serious. I've got a nice apartment, a good rental car, and a city I'm enjoying exploring. Plus, I'm getting paid to do it. Why would I give that up?" Clara leaned forward. "Because you love me. Because we're married. Because this is insane. Do I love you, Clara? The question seemed to catch her off guard. Of course you do. When's the last time we had a real conversation? Not about your work, not about household logistics, not about your family. When's the last time we talked about something that mattered? We talk all the time. No, you talk all the time. I listen. There's a difference. Clara's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. Problem? Andrea's lawyer wants to meet tomorrow. The company is pressing charges for the property damage. That's unfortunate. Derek, she could go to jail. She could. Destruction of company property is a felony if the damage exceeds a certain amount. How much was that computer monitor worth? Claire stared at me. You know exactly how much it was worth, don't you? I know a lot of things, Clara. I've had time to research. She stood up abruptly. This isn't you, Derek. This cold, calculating person. This isn't who you are. Maybe it is. Maybe you just never bothered to find out. Claire left without another word. I finished my dinner and walked back to my apartment, enjoying the ocean breeze and the sound of seagulls. My phone rang as I was unlocking my door. Maddie Gold. I've got some preliminary information, she said. You free to talk? Shoot, your wife's been busy. 3 trips out of town in the last 2 months, all charged to company expenses. Officially, they were business meetings. Unofficially, she wasn't alone. Who was with her? Vincent Caro, regional director, recently promoted. Drives a BMW, lives in a condo downtown, divorced 6 months ago. I sat down heavily on my couch. How sure are you? Hotel records show adjoining rooms booked under company accounts. Same restaurants, same times. Either they're very thorough about business dinners or they're sleeping together. Anything else? Still digging, but Derek? Your instincts were right. This wasn't about a prank, this was about getting you out of the way. After she hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time, looking out at Portland Harbor and thinking about 8 years of marriage. Claire hadn't driven 4 hours to apologize. She'd driven 4 hours to make sure I wasn't getting too comfortable in my new life. Too late for that, sweetheart. Way too late. I flew back to our hometown on Friday, 3 weeks after the transfer. Not permanently, just to collect some things from the house and, more importantly, to have a conversation with Vincent Caro. Lou picked me up from the airport in his beat-up Ford pickup. You look different, he said as we drove toward town. Different how? I don't know. Sharper maybe, like you've been planning something. Maybe I have. Should I be worried? Not about me. Lou had done some reconnaissance while I was gone. Vincent Caro was 34, divorced, ambitious, and according to office gossip, very interested in advancing his career through strategic relationships. His promotion to regional director had surprised some people. He'd only been with the company for 2 years. Word is, Clara recommended him for the position, Lou said, personally vouched for his qualifications. I bet she did. We drove past TechFlow Industries. The parking lot was full. Friday afternoon, everyone's still pretending to be productive. I could see Claire's Mercedes in her reserved spot near the executive entrance. You want me to wait? Lou asked as he dropped me off at the house. No, I've got the rental car. Thanks for the ride. The house felt strange after 3 weeks away. Too quiet, too clean, too much like a showroom. Claire had always been obsessive about appearances. The house had to be perfect in case someone important stopped by. I packed another suitcase with clothes and personal items, then sat down at Clara's home office computer. She'd changed the password, but Clara was predictable. Her passwords were always some variation of her goals. CFO 2025, Executive 2024, Success 2023. I tried Board Member 2024 and got in on the first attempt. Her email was a goldmine. 3 months of correspondence with Vincent, starting professional and becoming increasingly personal. Dinner reservations, hotel confirmations, and a particularly interesting exchange about handling the Derek situation. Vincent, are you sure about the transfer idea? Seems risky. Clara, Andrea can make it look like a prank if it goes wrong. But it won't go wrong. Derek's too passive to fight it, Vincent. And if he just accepts the transfer? Clara, then we have 6 months of freedom while I figure out the next step. Vincent, next step? Clara, divorce, obviously. But I need to protect my assets first. The prenup favors him if I'm the one who initiates, Vincent. So we make him initiate. Clara, exactly. A few months of long-distance marriage, Some strategic neglect. Maybe he meets someone in Portland. Either way, by Christmas I'm free and you're not a secret anymore. I printed the entire email chain and put it in my carry-on bag. At 5:30, I drove to TechFlow and waited in the parking lot. Vincent's BMW was easy to soy, metallic blue, vanity plates that read Vicaro. He came out at 6:15 alone, checking his phone as he walked. I got out of my rental car and intercepted him halfway to his BMW. Vincent Caro? He looked up, startled. Yes? Derek Brandt, Claire's husband. His face went pale. Oh, hi. We need to talk. Vincent glanced around the parking lot nervously. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I'm sure it's a great idea. See, I've been doing some reading lately. Email reading, specifically. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo of one of his emails to Clara. This one's my favorite. The part where you call me too passive to fight. Very insightful. Vincent's shoulders sagged. Look, Derek, it's not what you think. It's not? Because what I think is that you and my wife cooked up a scheme to get me out of town so you could continue your affair without sneaking around. And when that backfired, Clara panicked and drove to Portland to see if I was onto you. Clara said you were having problems anyway. Clara said a lot of things, apparently. But here's what she didn't say. She didn't say she'd rid our prenup carefully. She didn't say that transferring me would cost her $250,000. And she definitely didn't say that I'd hired a private investigator to document your little relationship. Vincent's face went from pale to gray. You hired a private investigator? Hotel records, restaurant receipts, travel expenses. Very thorough documentation. The kind that holds up in divorce court. What do you want? Right now? I want you to understand that you picked the wrong husband to screw over. Clara thought I was passive. You thought I was too stupid to figure it out. You were both wrong. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you. See, Vincent? I've spent the last 3 weeks learning things. Legal things. Financial things. Career-ending things. I stepped closer. For instance, did you know that using company resources to facilitate an extramarital affair is grounds for immediate termination? Or that falsifying business expenses for personal travel is considered embezzlement? You can't prove it. I can prove all of it. Hotel rooms booked with company cards, dinners for two charged as business meetings, travel expenses for trips where no actual business was conducted. Vincent looked around the parking lot again, probably hoping someone would interrupt us. No such luck. What do you want? He asked again. I want you to end it with Clara, tonight. End it. Break up. Call it off. Tell her it's over. And if I don't, then Monday morning, HR gets a very detailed report about your creative expense accounting, along with copies of all your emails to my wife. I'm sure the board would be very interested in how their new regional director conducts business. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. You're not the same guy Clara described. No, I'm not. Turns out getting screwed over by your wife and her boyfriend is very motivating. She really didn't think you'd fight back. Claire's always been bad at reading people. That's why she needs other people to do her dirty work. Vincent nodded slowly. Okay, I'll end it. Tonight. And Vincent, when she asks why, tell her it's because her husband isn't as passive as she thought. I walked back to my rental car, leaving Vincent standing next to his BMW, looking like he'd been hit by a truck. My phone rang as I was driving away. Clara. Derek, I heard you're in town. Just picking up some things. We should talk. Should we? What would we talk about, Clara? Your business trips? Your strategic planning sessions? Your creative problem solving? There was a long pause. What do you know? I know enough. Derek, I'll be flying back to Portland tomorrow morning, but don't worry, I'll be back again soon. We've got a lot to discuss. I hung up and called Maddie Gold. How did it go? Oh, she asked. Phase 1 complete. How's your report coming? Almost finished. You're going to like what I found. Good, because Phase 2 is going to require documentation. What's Phase 2? I smiled as I drove past TechFlow Industries one more time, noting that Vincent's BMW was still in the parking lot. Phase 2 is where Clara finds out what passive-aggressive really looks like. I didn't go back to Portland the next morning. Instead, I checked into a hotel downtown and waited for Clara's world to start falling apart. It didn't take long. Vincent called her at 8:30 p.m. Friday night. I know because I was parked across from her favorite wine bar, watching through the window as she took the call. Even from 50 feet away, I could see her face change from confusion to anger to something approaching panic. She tried calling him back 3 times. Each call went to voicemail. Saturday morning, I had breakfast with Maddie Gold at a diner near the river. She handed me a manila folder thick with photographs, documents, and timelines. "Everything you need," she said. "Hotel records, credit card statements, phone logs, even some photos from the restaurant security cameras. Your wife and Vincent were not subtle." I flipped through the documentation. It was thorough, professional, and absolutely damning. "There's something else," Maddie said. "I did some digging into Vincent's background. His divorce wasn't as clean as he claims. His ex-wife accused him of having an affair with a coworker." Sound familiar? Very. What happened? She couldn't prove it, so she didn't get much in the settlement. But she's still in town, still bitter, and very interested in talking to anyone who can prove she was right about Vincent. Interesting. I thought you'd think so. Her name's Rebecca Caro. She works at the bank downtown. Saturday afternoon, I visited Rebecca Caro at First National Bank. She was a loan officer, professional and composed, until I mentioned Vincent's name. "You're Clara Brandt's husband," she said. "I've seen your picture at company events. You know about Clara?" I suspected. Vincent has a type, ambitious women who can help his career. I just couldn't prove it while we were married. I showed her Maddie's documentation. Rebecca studied each page carefully, her expression growing more satisfied with every hotel receipt and dinner bill. "This is exactly what I thought was happening," she said finally. Vincent was working late constantly, taking mysterious business trips, getting promoted way too fast. I knew he was sleeping with someone in management. What would you do with this information if you had it during your divorce? I'd have taken him for everything he was worth. Cheating clauses are beautiful things when you can prove them. Hypothetically, if someone were to file an ethics complaint with his company about misuse of corporate resources, would you be willing to provide testimony about his pattern of behavior? Rebecca smiled, for the first time since I had walked into her office. Hypothetically, I'd be delighted. Saturday night, Clara showed up at my hotel. The front desk called my room at 9:15. "Mrs. Brand is here to see you, sir. Send her up." Clara knocked on my door 5 minutes later. She looked terrible, no makeup, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt instead of her usual business attire. "We need to talk," she said. "Come in." She sat on the edge of the bed while I took the chair by the window. For a moment, neither of us said anything. "Vincent broke up with me," she said finally. "I'm sorry to hear that." "No, you're not. You're right, I'm not." Claire looked up at me. "How long have you known?" "About Vincent, 3 weeks." "About the real reason for the transfer?" "Since the day it happened." "The day it happened?" "Clara, you've been planning my exit strategy for months. The only thing that surprised me was how sloppy you were about it. I wasn't trying to hurt you, weren't you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you were trying to manipulate me into initiating a divorce so you could keep your assets and your reputation intact." Clara was quiet for a long moment. "I wasn't happy, Derek. So you decided to blow up our marriage instead of talking to me about it. Would you have listened? I guess we'll never know, will we?" Clara stood up and walked to the window. "What happens now?" Now you live with the consequences of your choices? Meaning? Meaning I'm staying in Portland. Meaning I'm collecting my separation allowance, as specified in our prenup. And meaning you get to explain to everyone why your husband is living in another state. For how long? As long as I want. The prenup doesn't specify a time limit. Claire turned to face me. "This isn't like you, Derek. Everyone keeps saying that. Maybe this is exactly like me and you just never bothered to pay attention. So what, you're going to punish me indefinitely? Make me pay you to live in Portland while you figure out your next move? I'm not punishing you, Clara. I'm protecting myself. You made it very clear that you want out of this marriage. Fine, but you're going to pay for the privilege. And if I refuse?" I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo of the email chain I'd printed from her computer. Then Monday morning, HR gets some very interesting reading material about their CFO's creative approach to personnel management. Clara's face went white. "You went through my email? You transferred me to another state based on a lie. I think we're past worrying about privacy." "Derek, please." "Please what?" Please let you destroy my life without consequences. Please pretend I don't know about Vincent. Please keep being the passive husband who doesn't ask questions. Clara sat back down on the bed, her shoulders sagging. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far. And now we both have to live with it. So what do you want? Money, the house, a quick divorce? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to think about that every time you write me a check for living expenses. And I want you to remember that the passive husband you thought you married doesn't exist anymore. Clara was crying now, quiet tears running down her cheeks. I'm sorry, Derek. I really am sorry. I know you are. You're sorry you got caught. She left without another word. I watched from my window as she walked to her Mercedes in the hotel parking lot, her shoulders shaking. My phone rang an hour later. Lou, how did it go? Phase 2 complete. What's phase 3? I looked out at the city lights, thinking about Vincent's panicked face in the parking lot and Clara's tears in my hotel room. Phase 3 is where I stopped being nice about it. Monday morning brought 3 phone calls that changed everything. The first was from Andrea, Clara's sister, calling from her lawyer's office. Derek, you have to help me, she said, her voice shaking. They're saying I could face criminal charges, felony destruction of property, computer fraud, mistreat of company systems. My lawyer says I could go to prison. That's unfortunate, Andy. Unfortunate? Derek, this is my life. I made one mistake. You made several mistakes. You accessed systems you weren't authorized to use, you forged official documents, you destroyed company property, and you did it all to help your sister manipulate her husband. That's not one mistake, that's a pattern of criminal behavior. But it was just a prank. Tell that to the judge. Derek, please. Clara said you might be willing to help if I apologized. Clara was wrong. I'm not interested in your apology, Andy. I'm interested in consequences. I hung up on her, sobbing. The second call was from Vincent. Derek, we need to talk. Do we? Clara told me about your documentation. I think we can work something out. I'm listening. I'm willing to pay you. Cash. $50,000 to make this go away. I laughed. 50,000. Vincent, do you have any idea how much money I'm collecting from Clara every month? 50,000 is what she pays me in living expenses alone. 100,000. Not interested. Derek, be reasonable. I've got a career to think about. You should have thought about that before you started sleeping with my wife. What do you want? I want you to resign from TechFlow Industries. What? Quit your job today. Clean out your desk, turn in your company car, and find employment somewhere else. I can't do that. I just bought a condo. I've got car payments. Then you should have made better choices. Derek, resign today, or HR gets my documentation tomorrow. Your choice. The third call was from Clara. Derek, what did you say to Vincent? I gave him some career advice. He's talking about quitting his job. Smart man. Derek, this has to stop. You're destroying people's lives. Am I? Because it seems to me like people are destroying their own lives. I'm just documenting the process. Vincent didn't deserve this. Vincent chose to sleep with a married woman and use company resources to do it. He deserves exactly what he gets. And Andrea? Does she deserve to go to prison? Andrea chose to commit fraud and destroy company property. Yes, she deserves to face the consequences. This isn't you, Derek. Everyone keeps saying that, Clara. But maybe this is exactly who I am when I stop letting people walk all over me. Clara was quiet for a moment. What do you want? Really? What will it take to end this? I want you to understand what it feels like to have your life turned upside down by someone you trusted. I understand. I get it. You've made your point. Have I? Because you're still trying to negotiate your way out of consequences. You're still trying to manage the situation instead of accepting responsibility for it. Fine. You want me to accept responsibility? I accept it. I screwed up. I hurt you. I made terrible choices. Now what? Now you live with them. I hung up and called Maddie Gold. How's the final report coming? Almost done. You sure you want to go nuclear on this? I'm sure. Derek, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've seen a lot of revenge stories. Most of them don't end well for anyone. This one will? How can you be sure? Because I'm not trying to destroy Clara, Maddie. I'm trying to teach her that actions have consequences. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're systematically dismantling her entire life. Her entire life was built on lies and manipulation. Maybe it's time for her to build a new one based on honesty. Tuesday afternoon, Vincent Caro resigned from TechFlow Industries. The official reason was pursuing new opportunities. The real reason was sitting in my email inbox in the form of a 3-page confession detailing his affair with Clara and his misuse of company resources. Wednesday morning, Andrea's lawyer called to discuss a plea bargain. Apparently, the company was willing to drop the criminal charges if she paid full restitution and agreed to never seek employment in their industry again. Wednesday afternoon, Clara called. "Vincent's gone," she said. "I heard." "Are you satisfied now?" "Are you? What do you mean?" Are you satisfied with the choices you made, the lies you told, the people you hurt?" Clara was quiet for a long moment. "No." "Then we're making progress. Derek, I want to come to Portland. I want to see you." "Why?" "Because we need to talk. Really talk. Not about money or lawyers or consequences. About us. There is no us, Clara. You made sure of that when you decided to get me out of the way. There could be, if you wanted there to be. What I want is for you to understand that trust, once broken, doesn't just magically repair itself. What I want is for you to realize that you can't manipulate your way out of every problem. What I want is for you to accept that some consequences are permanent. So that's it? 8 years of marriage and you're just going to throw it away? I'm not throwing anything away, Clara. You already did that. Thursday morning, I got a call from TechFlow's HR director. "Mr. Brandt, we'd like to discuss your employment status." "I'm listening." "The Portland facility is being downsized. We're prepared to offer you a generous severance package if you'd be willing to consider voluntary termination." "How generous?" 6 months' salary, plus full benefits, plus job placement assistance. "And if I decline, then we'll need you to report to the Portland office Monday morning for reassignment." I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. "I accept." "Excellent. We'll have the paperwork ready by Friday." Friday afternoon, I signed my severance agreement and officially became unemployed. The timing was perfect. My separation allowance from Clara would continue as long as I remained in Portland, and now I had 6 months of severance pay on top of it. Friday night, I called Lou. "So what's the plan now?" he asked. "Now I figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life." "And Clara?" "Clara figures out what she wants to do with hers." "You think she's learned her lesson?" I looked out at Portland Harbor, watching the boats come in with the evening tide. I think Clara's learning that the world doesn't revolve around her wants and needs. Whether that turns into actual wisdom remains to be seen. And if it doesn't, then she'll keep making the same mistakes until she runs out of people willing to clean up after her. Sounds lonely. Choices have consequences, Lou, even for CFOs. Saturday morning, Clara called one last time. "Derek, I'm filing for divorce." "Okay. That's it? Just okay?" "What do you want me to say, Clara?" "I want you to fight for us. I want you to care enough to try to save our marriage. Our marriage ended the day you decided to transfer me to Portland. Everything since then has just been paperwork. So you're going to let me go. I'm going to let you face the consequences of your choices. If that means letting you go, then yes." "I love you, Derek." "No, you don't. You love the idea of controlling me. You love having someone to manage and manipulate. But you don't love me." "That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time you asked me what I wanted? When's the last time you considered my feelings before making a decision? When's the last time you treated me like an equal partner instead of a problem to be solved?" Clara was crying again. "I can change." "Maybe you can, but you'll have to do it without me." After she hung up, I sat on my apartment balcony and watched the sun set over Casco Bay. For the first time in months, I felt completely at peace. My phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Maddie Gold. "Saw the news about the divorce filing. You okay?" I texted back, "Never better," and I meant it. 6 months later, the divorce was final. Clara kept the house and most of the assets, but had to pay me a substantial settlement based on the prenup's infidelity clause. Andrea pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges and paid a $15,000 fine. Vincent found a new job in another state, making half what he'd made at TechFlow. I used my settlement money to buy a small house near the water in Portland and started a consulting business helping small companies with their IT infrastructure. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Claire sent me a Christmas card that first year. Inside she'd written, "I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're happy." I was, the end.